fellow Fandalorians, to another episode of This Is the Pod, the podcast where we push through despite technical audio issues. I'm Jay.
And I'm Sam.
We're joined here today by a very special guest, Tyler, the main man Murray.
What's up, boys?
Alright, so, without beating around the bush anymore, we're going to jump right into...
This is totally our first time doing this.
Yes, one take, one done. That's what we say here at This Is the Pod. Alright, Season 1, Episode 4, Sanctuary. So, what are your guys' thoughts of the initial thoughts of this episode?
Alright, so this one was... And this was one of the few episodes that wasn't, like, essential to the season. It was more of, like, a one-off. And, I thought it was fine. I thought with the scene with the ATST, I thought that was cool, and it's just more development for the Mandalorian and for all the characters, and it introduces a new one, so I don't mind it. Some people might call it filler. I don't think it's filler, but you know.
Yeah, I would say that this is like the first episode that takes place after like main three episodes tell the first three episodes tell a very concise story of Mandalorian finding and rescuing the Baby Yoda. The next three episodes, Sanctuary, the Gunslinger, and the Prisoner, they tell their own little independent stories, but what I like about them is they really flesh out the Star Wars galaxy more and more. Like, there's little bits of lore, new perspectives. It helps build the universe and make it feel more real in some ways.
So, when this episode first came out, it was probably my least favorite. And I was pretty surprised to find out that most people actually liked this episode more than the next one. Because I actually enjoyed the Gunslinger quite a bit.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you know, now that some time has passed, it's definitely not, like, a bad episode. But I don't know. It's a little... I love The Mandalorian for, like, its very obvious, old-timey references and corniness. But I don't know, it's a little... It's almost like a little too on the nose for me.
Yeah, this episode is definitely... It's definitely just Seven Samurai or The Magnificent Seven, but in Star Wars.
And I don't think that's necessarily a problem, because, you know, that story, it's been retold many different times. It's been retold many times, and I think this was a nice retelling of it, so I don't mind it.
I think so, too. So, the cold open of this episode starts with shrimp farmers and dogmen raiders.
Yes. The blue shrimp. Oh, sorry. What was that?
Never mind. Go on.
I was just pointing out the blue shrimp, which that was, I don't want to say a surprise, but it was just a little cool Easter egg, I guess, if you can even call it that.
I love the Star Wars rule of like take a food that we have but make it blue.
Right? Like with the blue milk and everything.
Yeah. So, like you were saying earlier, this introduces us to some new episodes, like Cara Dune.
New characters. You said new episodes.
I'll fix that in post. But, yeah. Cara Dune, played by Gina Carano, who is a former Rebel shock trooper.
And, you know, I think that's really interesting. She's wanted by the Empire as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's like the remnants of the Empire.
Yeah, which,
but,
you know, that... How can you be wanted by something that technically doesn't exist?
She's wanted by remnants of the Empire because she's ex-rebel, and she's also it's implied that she kind of deserted, like she deserted the New Republic because she talks about how like after cleaning up Endor they became keepers of the peace and like putting down riots and stuff, and
she was like, "Nah, I want to shoot things."
Yeah. We learn something interesting about her backstory in episode either 7 or 8, but when Moff Gideon's giving his exposition dump, he mentions that she's from Alderaan.
Oof.
Which yeah, I feel like any time like Star Wars needs to give like a rebel or resistance character that extra punch, it's just like
oh yeah, they're from Alderaan.
They're from Alderaan. It's like instant motivation. I remember looking at like the Rise of Skywalker visual dictionary, and it's like the co-pilot of Ninub in the Tantive 4 was a descendant of Alderaanians, and it's an entry like, although something is too young to have ever stepped foot on Alderaan himself, the fiery rebel spirit is in his blood or something like that.
You know, it seems like a lot of Alderaanians weren't on Alderaan when it was destroyed.
Well, which kind of makes sense.
It's a big galaxy. You know.
Maybe Bail Organa wasn't there. Maybe there's still hope.
Ah.
No, he was. This is slightly off topic, but I remember in the one novel Bloodlines, Bail Organa has he's revered and he has this statue. It takes place before The Force Awakens, and do you know where this statue glorifying Bail Organa is in memory of him?
Oh, it's on Hosnian
It's on
Prime.
Hosnian Prime. And so it's poor Bail Organa gets blown up on Alderaan, and then even his statue can't stand in peace on Hosnian Prime. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, the Mandalorian. But so, again, about building the universe, this shows that, not everyone in the Star Wars galaxy is the most interesting person. It's I love, the waitress character who's just completely oblivious to the goings-on.
Yeah, and I don't think we've ever seen, a almost tavern type, shanty type setting.
Right.
You know, I mean, we have Mos Eisley's Cantina, obviously, but it's just...
But
that's,
that is a wretched hive of scum and villainy.
yeah, it's nice to see just, what's out there in the galaxy.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense, but it's always a little, at least a tiny bit surprising when, you go to a planet and somehow there are still people with, such primitive technology. You would think, it feels like technology would have spread to, every corner of the galaxy by now.
Right.
Somehow.
Well, it's this almost kind of reminds me of the aesthetic of Firefly, the old Joss Whedon show with Nathan Fillion and stuff, and that was very cowboys but in space. And the explanation they kind of had is as people are settling the galaxy, it's they're basically pioneers, so they're gonna have covered wagons and stuff, which doesn't necessarily make sense, but as a basis to build a fantasy show around, I'm fine with that.
And if I'm not mistaken, the planet that episode 4 takes place on, it is in the Outer Rim, which is, if I'm not mistaken, I could be totally wrong about that.
I don't know the exact coordinates of Sorgan.
But just with it being in the Outer Rim, there's not going to be that same amount of technology. It's more unexplored. So it kind of makes sense that there would be these primitive civilizations, as you put them.
I get, but even then, they're humans, and humans are basically the predominant species in the galaxy, and it's just something had to go wrong. Maybe
I don't know about that.
Or maybe do we ever hear human in Star Wars at some point? Do we? Or is it?
I don't think we ever.
Where do humans come from in Star Wars?
I don't know if they have an original.
You know what?
planet.
Star Wars Explained did a video on it, and I watched it a while ago, and I don't remember.
Are they all from Coruscant and have they spread out? Or are there multiple planets on which humans separately evolved?
I think this is I don't think this is something that's ever been explained in Star Wars, at least not to my knowledge. And I know a fair bit about legends and stuff, but I don't know. This is so far back, thousands and thousands and thousands of years before, before even hyperdrives were discovered. Humans were starting to colonize the galaxy. Or at least, actually, from a Legends perspective, which I know these two don't particularly find interesting.
It's not that I don't find it interesting. It's just I have limited knowledge in that point.
What you could explain it as, for any of you mega nerds out there, if you ever heard of the Rakatan Empire, you played KOTOR.
Yeah, I played Knights of the
They enslaved tons of species. And so what could have happened is, most species could have spread out through the galaxy because of the Rakata.
Were the Rakatans the one with the Starforge?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, maybe that's how a lot of species got their start in terms of spreading out.
It is something to think about. How did these shrimp farmers get to Sorgan? It's because they don't seem to be spacefaring. everything seems like even the houses look like woven baskets.
I mean,
So
maybe they were, maybe they were brought there as slaves, like generations before, and they were just kind of left there,
Or they like that's kind of hopeful actually that they like liberated themselves and then just found like a quiet life as shrimp farmers. Or maybe they're like the Amish.
they just live disconnected lives from everyone else.
It's the simple life of a shrimp farmer. A simple life that unfortunately makes you very vulnerable to, what are they called, Clatuinians?
Clatuinians, yes.
Those weird dog
Clatuine.
creatures.
The dogmen.
Yet another Tatooine planet. An Oween planet.
Tatooine, Dantooine.
Either of you watch Eckhart Slaughter?
Yes, I do, actually.
I don't.
All right. Well, I mean, he did a whole video about like planetary naming conventions, and his conclusion was that Ween was most likely a moniker given to names or given to planets that were past on like the galactic map, past the colonies in the Outer Rim.
Oh.
And they may have been named. They may have been. Tatooine, according to him, was the original one. So that sort of naming convention might have just spread out from there as the Republic started colonizing further out into the galaxy. But I don't know.
See, I would, in my head, it's something like what happened in like real history, where like colonizers, being the ignorant colonizers that they are, go to a place and they ask like, "What's the name of this place?" And
New England. Right?
Or no, it's like the indigenous people say like Sahara, which means desert. And so the Sahara Desert means like desert. but they don't know that or care because they're ignorant colonizers. Or it's like the Soviet Union means like union. So it's like in my heart of hearts, I'd like to think that some awful colonizer went to Tatooine and asked like the sand people like, what is this place? And
sand people? Are you allowed to say that?
or Tusken Raiders? Is Tusken? What is the?
I don't think there's a really.
What is the more PC? What is the politically correct?
Are Tusken Raiders just humans?
No.
I feel like there's at least one character that used to be a Tusken Raider that.
There's a Jedi that was like raised by Tusken Raiders.
Asherad Head.
Yeah, that's the guy.
Yeah.
But it's like. We could get into a whole thing about like how Jawas have fur and stuff.
Yeah, but I don't think Tusken Raiders are human.
But so yeah, the galactic naming conventions, definitely something to get into. But like, why is it called Sorgan? Does Sorgan mean shrimp? How deep does the rabbit hole go?
No, Jeffrey.
But so these shrimp farmers, they find the Mandalorian because they've heard tales of the Mandalorians and stuff, and they ask him to help defend the village from the dog people.
How did he get here?
On the Razor Crest.
He flew, Tyler.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Why is he here?
Oh, because he's like hiding with the child. He wants to lay low after what happened on Navarro.
Okay. Maybe I was thinking of the season 2 trailer.
Yeah.
With his
this
broken down ship.
No, this is just after he escapes Navarro. The Mandalorians came and bailed him out.
Is there any particular reason that he went to this planet?
He calls it a backwater planet, so that would make sense if it's Outer Rim like we were thinking it was. Yeah. Good place to hide out. The Outer Rim is a good place to disappear, said Maz Kanata.
Right.
So, but yeah. But they tell him about the dogmen, but there's a little teeny detail they kind of forget to mention.
The freaking ATST.
And so I appreciate this episode for showing the ATST in the terror that it would elicit from you, while still being kind of contradictory to Return of the Jedi.
And it kind of. It really puts it into perspective, too, because there's not really many live-action shots of an AT-ST, so you don't really get to know just how menacing and scary it actually is to be confronted with
it's one. It's really big in this show.
Yeah. It's real tall.
Unless, like, the Clatuinians are really short or something.
Well, we see the Clatuinians the same height as humans, so... What I think it is...
Maybe everyone in this galaxy is just, like, actually 4 feet tall?
Well, we don't know, because it's a galaxy far, far away a long time ago. Han Solo could be 100 feet tall.
All right, maybe you haven't been there, Jeffrey, but... Some people.
Oh, wow, okay. So, anyway... at one point, Cara Dune says, there's nothing on this planet that could take that thing down. Which I feel like...
A log.
A log. There's lots of logs.
We saw what happened in Return of the Jedi.
Cara Dune, you're a rebel shock trooper. Surely you know what happened on Endor. If you weren't on Endor yourself, surely you know what happened there.
Well, actually, Jeffrey, it's for its mood of Endor.
Stop using my real name, Tyler.
And you know, that goes for another thing about the name with the ATSTs, all-terrain scout transports. They're not really all-terrain. I mean, if you stick a deep river or a mountain in front of an ATST...
That's the thing. It's like, what do you do if one of those gets to like a canyon?
I guess we can't go around. Well, you can go around it.
You know how like a caterpillar will get across a gap.
Yeah,
it'll scrunch itself up and then flomp over. I imagine that's pretty close.
What is the highest threshold that an AT-AT or ATST could lift its leg before it falls over? And another thing, this is a mini tangent, but if you're one of those. This is the pod. We're a welcoming, inclusive community. We aren't fond of like the toxicness in the Star Wars community. But if you're one of those people that calls it an AT-AT, turn it off. We don't want your listenership. Now, some may say it's a bad move too.
I didn't know this is one of those podcasts.
You're one of those people, Tyler.
No, I call it an AT-AT.
Okay, good.
But when I was younger, I called it an AT-AT.
Yeah, but it's just like. What do you call an ATST then? It doesn't make sense.
What's the other one? ATTE? ATDP?
This is all a joke, by the way. We're welcoming of all Star Wars fans. Except if you call it. Oh, but anyway. So, again, shows really how terrifying these things can be if you don't have an elaborate system of logs.
Especially when they put like a red light in it. Like that was a little
This is like those like college freshmen who set up the lights in their dorm rooms and just play the different colors.
It's ambiance.
Those are Christmas lights, Tyler. Stop.
Pardon me.
Also, stop gesturing to stuff around the room. This is an audio medium. Visual jokes don't work. This is an audio medium. You can't just gesture to stuff around the room. What am I gesturing at? The people at home don't know. They don't know it's a lamp.
Yeah, lamp, not a life-size Ray cutout.
Oh my god! I seriously don't have one of those. God, now you make me sound like I'm one of those Star Wars fans. Okay, but moving swiftly along, how do they end up taking the ATST out?
Gun.
It's a bit anticlimactic, you know.
They get it to step in a hole. A river that they've dug.
Then they throw a grenade and it explodes. But I mean, it was cool.
I feel like they could have tried tripping it.
Honestly, like, once it fell over, if this village really didn't want anybody to mess with it, they could have just
commandeered
it. Yeah, just take it.
That would have been like Chewbacca does like the Tarzan swing and lands on top and commandeers the ATSC. So that would be quite the sign of like you go to like raid the small village, you just see the ATST walking around the border.
You know, I always thought it was a bit of a design oversight with the ATST, how the where you look out of them, the flaps, they're just wide open.
Yeah.
You know, it's a well-placed shot or grenade, thermal detonator thrown in there, and it's all over.
And as we all know, every vehicle in Star Wars is perfectly designed and extremely logical. Have you been in a Star Destroyer?
No, I haven't. I don't think I've ever been in a Star Destroyer.
What, you haven't?
I mean, I have, from a certain point of view.
That was very funny, Jeffrey. Jay, fuck. I mean,
I'm not sure. Can we curse on this?
I don't know.
Like, when I upload it to YouTube, I, like, say it's not made for kids. So I guess we can curse. But, yeah.
I'm a guest. I can do what I want.
But so, yeah. I guess they took that into account when they designed the ADDP for Rebels.
But you see, that's another thing with Star Wars vehicles and just them not making sense in scale and everything.
Is like super, super tall. Like it's taller than an ATSD.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's like I mean, at least from the looks of it.
No, they look pretty tall.
Because they're like that center section of metal on their legs is like significantly taller than an ATSD.
That's interesting. It's like who makes the ATSTs and AT-ATs? Is it? I know Kuat Drive Yards does like
They do
the
TIE fighters.
Star
and
Destroyers. and TIE
CNR does
Cyanide fleets.
does
Yeah.
TIE fighters. Kuat does Star Destroyers.
Blast-
Rafana?
I'm not
Rafana's
sure.
ATTs.
God, this is
Blastech designs the E11s.
we're never gonna win an obscure Star Wars trivia challenge like this, guys.
I don't hear you contribute
So
anything.
the ATST is 8.6
I said I knew
meters
Kuat
tall.
Drive Yards.
Yeah, everybody knows Kuat. Is Kuat canon?
No, I'm pretty sure it is.
I feel like they might mention that in
I really like
Star Wars
Kuat.
Squadrons.
Kuat's one of my
Like,
favorite
I feel
planets.
like if they're bringing the Starhawk into Star Wars Squadrons,
So I actually...
Well, the Starhawk,
I don't want to get into
Starhawk
that
was
now.
canon anyways.
Yeah.
right? But like, I feel like now's a good time to bring Kuat in.
11.6 meters.
And the AT,
That's for the ATDP. So the ATDP it's significantly taller than the
Ooh.
ATSC. The ATSC is 8.6.
Ooh,
So it's a full,
It's even easier to
3
trim.
meters
It's
taller.
even easier to trim.
And compared to an AT-AT, like those legs are pretty thin.
But it's not just the ATST they have to worry about. It's the other Raiders and the Dogmen. Like this episode kind of follows those two kind of hapless villagers. They're the ones that go and recruit the Mando, and we see them training, and they're holding their pointed stick backwards.
And they're like, oh, what do we do? Do we fight?
It's like if I gave each of you like a pointed stick, how many Dogmen do you think you could kill?
Do they have blasters?
Yes. Okay, let's make it somewhat even. Let's say they have like a club or a baseball bat.
They have like those weird. Okay, this is really obscure. But did you ever have like a Lando Calrissian action figure when he was disguised on Jabba and Jabba's
Yeah.
sail barge?
The weird
he-
axe.
He has that weird stick.
Is this?
It's like a metal pipe with a bent end and a mace at the other.
Oh, you know what I think? I think of the axe that one of the Knights of Ren has.
I don't
But
know.
yeah.
Nobody has any idea what I'm talking about.
But back to the question.
It's like, how many Dogmen do you think you kill? I want a number.
Let's say, considering the fact that in the show they kind of dispatched them easily once they actually got their wits about them and everything, I'm gonna say 2 or 3.
It's like, do they have the intelligence of a pug?
It seems like it. I mean, they run at them like their arms all the way out.
Yeah, they're kind of like mindless
Because
barbarians.
I may or may not have hired a dozen people to dress up in dog costumes and attack us after this episode airs.
Oh, God.
We're gonna put this in the test.
Okay, Jeffrey, but do we have pointy sticks?
We're gonna make them.
Do we have the time?
Well, it's gonna be in a day. We're gonna have as much time as these two guys on the show have.
to train.
Where it looks like one day, it looks like the Mando says, like, bad news, he can't live here anymore. They go back and forth, decide to help them, and over the course of a day, they build the sticks and the pylons, and it's like sunsetting, time to fight them.
I think we can do that. I think we can manage.
I feel like we're competent
Do you
enough.
think he left any weapons for them? Because all those blasters were his,
Right,
right?
they're all in his lockers thing. You'd hope that he would almost, but like we see in a few episodes, people open that locker and there's still a significant amount of blasters. So
Yeah.
He actually took whatever spare ones they had.
there is one theory that like he leaves the pulse rifle, or like it gets waterlogged or something, because we don't see him use it for the rest of the episode, the rest of the season.
Oh, I never noticed that.
I feel like the pulse rifle would come in handy in a couple.
I like
situations.
him disintegrating people. That's a good character trait.
That's a good character. It's funny because Darth Vader says no disintegrations.
It's like it makes so much more sense now.
And didn't when Boba Fett first showed up in the holiday special,
He had
was it a pulse rifle? It just looked like
See,
a
I don't-
stick.
It shoots out like a weird magenta colored beam from the.
But in that show, it doesn't literally disintegrate people.
We'll talk about the holiday special some other time, but it's worth mentioning that is what the pulse rifle is based on. The first appearance of Boba Fett in the cartoon that Lumpy watches in the Star Wars holiday special. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, oh my God, how I envy you and your untainted mind. But yeah, we'll talk about the holiday special some other time. So they defeat the Dogmen, blow up the ATSD, which I assume is like a real morale booster.
I would imagine so.
I mean, to them, it's basically like the boogeyman.
Yeah,
You know?
it's like it's part of like the fear factor, the intimidation. Like,
I wonder how long it's been like that. Did they mention that in the episode?
no, like
It's like, I don't know, maybe they've been terrorized by that ATST for generations.
Oh no.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
It's like
I mean, but when the Mando when he comes and tells them about it, he's like, "There's a literal ATST." They're like, "Well, what's that?" Like, you would think that. I mean, obviously they wouldn't know its technical name.
Maybe it's maybe it is like a boogeyman. I kind of like that. I assume that it's been there since the Empire fell, because this has just been my headcanon that like when the Empire fell, about 5 or 6 years before the series take place, they had to just like drop everything and leave from some planets, so you're gonna have an ATST left here and there.
Lying around.
I think there's just AT-ATs lying around, and someone's just made a house out of it or something.
Yeah, it's like, are you talking about Rey specifically, or?
Did you forget
I forgot about that. I genuinely totally forgot about that.
I wasn't sure if this was a bit, so like just doing it, but that is literally what Rey does. It's just
I completely forgot about that. Honestly,
that says something about the Force Awakens, but
or the sequels in general.
Oh boy, when we get to sequel talk,
I love the Rise of Skywalker. What are you talking about?
Leave.
No, I didn't.
But that's gonna be a fun episode for another time. Before we wrap up, just want to talk about some of the Easter eggs from this episode. So, when Mando first gets into the little tavern...
It's nowhere near Easter. What is he talking
about? The people can listen anytime they want, Tyler.
Yeah, no.
But we see a live-action Lothcat.
They're a lot bigger than I thought.
See, I don't think it's a lot bigger than it actually is, because, like,
What's it doing not on Lothal?
Maybe people keep them as pets. You can get them at like the one creature shop on Batuu. That's canon that you can adopt Lothcats on Batuu.
Are they as big as that one?
No, but maybe they grow up. It's like, what if Lothcats are also like magical teleporting force creatures like Lothwolves? These are the things we have to consider. Let's dissect and dive as deep as we can into each and every one of these small, minute details.
That's just how Star Wars is. Every character, every creature. It doesn't matter what, the tiniest detail. There's something about
Everybody's got a destiny. Everybody's got a backstory.
Every single character that you ever see, even slightly, has an entire backstory. One of Jay's favorites is the one droid that explodes.
I have words about him. We'll talk about him next episode.
Okay, no spoilers.
Yes, but so we see the Lothcat. This isn't an Easter egg, but people will probably get upset if we don't mention it, that Cara Dune mentions cleaning up after Endor, which shows how, like...
Did we mention Cara Dune at all?
Yeah, we talked about her. We talked about she's from Alderaan and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, the widow character, like when we see them all practicing with blasters, she's using the same kind of blaster. Is it Boba Fett or Boss?
Bosk's weapon, the Relby V10. It's actually a mortar launcher.
Oh, God.
If any of you played Battlefront or Battlefront 2, you'll recognize that as the worst weapon in the game because of the people that use it. It means that you're a terrible person.
We hear Mandalorian call Baby Yoda a womp rat. He says, "You little womp rat," which doesn't really make sense because they're over 2 meters. They're over 2 meters long. That's not a little animal. It's like a cow.
Now, I feel like
it's most of that length is their tail. Have you seen womp rats? Yeah, most of that's their tail.
Okay, I kind of assumed it was like a cow-sized animal.
No, I don't think.
Like,
the only reason I know
that Luke Skywalker was some sort of like psychopath, just going around blowing up these big animals in his T-16 Sky Shuttle.
How? But I mean, like,
God, you see, I've only seen womp rats in Lego form, so actually. Actually seeing them in their real form, they're really ugly.
Thank God Luke Skywalker blew this up.
How many people would like actually know what a womp rat is, though?
Are they native? Are they only on Tatooine?
That's the only place we ever see them. I think.
Are they like the Blurgs and the Jawas, where they're like they're on every sort of desert planet?
They're native to Tatooine. Yeah. Womp rats were large omnivorous rodents native to Tatooine, widely considered to be pests.
So they have rodents in Star Wars? It's like,
of course they do.
How similar is their tree of life to ours? That's what I don't want to go into, like the evolutionary history of the Star Wars universe. I feel like that's a bad.
Where did the Sarlacc come from?
Oh God.
How does it reproduce?
From George Lucas's nightmares.
Does it lay eggs?
Oh God. So, if were there any other Easter eggs that you guys wanted to talk about?
Not that I can think of.
If
right
not,
off the top of my head,
then
no.
we'll get to the new reoccurring segment of the show, which is Jay does a Star Wars impression. Is it good? Is it bad? We won't find out until he does it. So who should I do an impression of this time?
Should it be someone from the episode?
It
or?
could be any character. It can be any character in Star Wars except one. There is one character I refuse to do out of a matter of principle, but I'm not going to tell you who that is.
Who wouldn't he want to? Bib Fortuna?
No, I can do Bib Fortuna. Do you want me to do a Bib Fortuna?
I'm trying to think of the one person that you won't do.
This could be a running joke for the episodes. So it's not Bib Fortuna.
All right. Well, he's a pretty terrible.
You do like a Morian guard.
Oh God. here's Bib Fortuna. Kewalawanga.
Say something else in his language.
Ah.
That was terribly racist. Come on, Jeffrey.
I don't speak Ryloth.
Ryloth.
Or it's like, what is the language of Twi'leks? Is it Rylothese?
It's not. It's definitely no. I can't think of the word. I know what it is too.
It definitely has a name because everything in Star Wars does.
Tune in next episode to find out.
Hold on, I'm finding out right now.
Well, that was going to be our running thread. That's what keeps the people coming back for more, Sam.
Oh, my bad.
Oh, wonderful. Wow, great. No one's going to come back. Great.
This is the final episode of This Is the Pod.
I guess I didn't know it. It's called Ryle. R-Y-L.
Ryle?
Ril? I don't know how to pronounce that.
It's probably Ryle.
I assume it's Ryle because it's from Ryloth. Well, I feel like we're all a little bit better people for knowing that. And next time around, we're going to be talking about episode 5, The Gunslinger. So make sure you tune in next week for that.
Pew pew.
And until next time, I am Jay, and this is the way.
And this is the pod.